Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lucy and this is the first video that I'm going to be posting here. So today I'm just going to be talking about the 12 perfumes that I brought with me on vacation. I'm currently away from where I live on like a beach vacation, and these are the 12 fragrances that I was able to pack with me. So I'm just gonna like talk about them, why I brought them, the notes, what sort of vibe they have and everything like that. And yeah, so please definitely subscribe to my channel for more fragrance related content in the future, and definitely leave a comment down below with like what your vacation staples are in terms of fragrances. I would love to get some new recommendations. So yeah, thank you. So the first fragrance I'm going to talk about is Songe by Annick Goutal. Songe is one of the first sort of tropical white florals I ever had in my collection, and I absolutely love it. This perfume is very similar to these other two that I have here with me, Terracotta Le Parfum by Guerlain and Sun di Gioia by Giorgio Armani. So these three are all very similar. They're very like beachy tropical white florals, but I think what makes Songe different from these two and other fragrances in this category is that Songe is super floral. A lot of fragrances in this category can be very sweet from having a lot of coconut and fruits in them and tiare flower and things like that. And though Songe has tiare in it, it does not have coconut in it, and so it's a much more dry white floral. It's much more of a white floral than either of these are and others in this category. So I think that white floral lovers would particularly love this. It opens with a really beautiful dry burst of very airy jasmine, and it also has some frangipani in it, some ylang ylang, the tiare as I said, and a little bit of musk, vanilla, things like that in the dry down. But this is very much a tropical white floral. So though the yellow florals are prominent, this is definitely a nice, really soft, like voluptuous, airy jasmine fragrance. I love this one, and has beautiful orangey juice. These all do. I'm sure that's just because they're known as kind of summer fragrances. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Terracotta Le Parfum by Guerlain. So this one has coconut in it. So this is like a jasmine fragrance with a jasmine and yellow floral fragrance with a significant amount of coconut in it. And I believe it also has like vanilla, musk, things like that in the base, just like sweetened base notes but predominantly coconut with white and yellow florals. I find that this one lasts very well, and this one is very well blended. I don't totally notice like one particular note much more than the others as I do with Songe and the jasmine that's in it. And I also find that this one blends very well with just kind of the environment in general, or like sweat or whatever. For some reason, I consider this kind of like a sporty perfume. I put this on when I go running sometimes. Like, I don't know, something about the vibe that this gives off is just very, it works when you're perspiring, or just be an association I have. But yeah, but that's Terracotta Le Parfum by Guerlain. It's perfect for warm days. It's sweet, but not too sweet. It's like definitely a perfect tropical floral fragrance. I would say that if someone was only going to have one of this kind of fragrance in their collection, I would definitely recommend Terracotta. The next fragrance I'm going to talk about is Sun di Gioia by Giorgio Armani, and this is unfortunately discontinued. It's an absolute gem. It's just a stunning tropical floral fragrance. I love it a lot, as you can tell by the bottle, and I'm super bummed that it's discontinued. But one thing about this category of fragrance is that there's honestly really not a huge amount of variation in this category. There's a ton of tropical, sort of florally, coconutty fragrances out there, and honestly, they do smell very similar. I just am very attached to this kind of fragrance for some reason, and so that's why I have three very similar smelling perfumes here with me on this trip. But Sun di Gioia is really special. This one is much more, I would say this one is much more of a like quote unquote oriental fragrance than these other three are. It has a lot more going on in the perfume in general and in the base notes. So though it does have those tropical white and yellow florals, and though it does have coconut in it, it also has, I think, benzoin, iris, a little bit more going on in this. So I think you could almost maybe get a little bit more out of this, or if you were to not just consider it a tropical floral fragrance, it's just kind of like a sweet ambery scent. I think that would work as well. It's a little bit like sweeter, or maybe it's a little bit like almost fruitier or juicier in the opening. I don't remember if it actually does have like fruity notes listed in it totally or not, but it has a much sort of fruitier, juicier opening, I guess, than these two. That's one thing I would say that's different about it. But yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful coconutty white floral. It lasts for a really long time. These fragrances all last a really long time. I find that these kinds of fragrances last really long on my skin. I don't know if that's the case for everyone else, but for me, they really do tend to stick around. This one is very creamy and luscious, I find, probably because it does have a lot more sort of resinous or deep notes in it than just those florals in the coconut. So Scent du Jour is absolutely beautiful and a really, really stunning representation of like the tropical floral fragrance category. Okay, next I will talk about Serge Lutens Dature Noire. So this is an absolutely beautiful fragrance. It is also kind of a suntan lotion fragrance. So it is a white floral, but it does bear a lot of similarities to the three I talked about before. So what is this all about? This is a tuberose fragrance, and I love tuberose. Tuberose is probably my favorite note in all of like perfumery, I would say. So this is a tuberose fragrance that also has coconut in it, almond, and heliotrope. So right off the bat, it opens with a very sort of creamy yet slightly sour or even bitter vibe, I guess. That almost sounds like it wouldn't be that good. Like, oh, it smells bitter and sour. Like, what? You want your perfume to smell bitter and sour? But for some reason, it gives this one basically kind of a slight edge or uniqueness over really other fragrances in the suntan lotion category. It doesn't make it smell bad. It doesn't really make it smell unappealing. It just makes it smell slightly different from your typical sort of like tiare flower, coconutty kind of thing. And it's absolutely mouthwatering. I find this fragrance so soothing, and what really got me into this fragrance was wearing it to bed. I find coconut in fragrances, I find it's very like relaxing to me. And so when I first got this, I was perplexed by it because it was really different from a lot of the other tuberose fragrances I had in my collection. But I noticed the coconut right off the bat, and this became sort of my bedtime fragrance. And that's really just because of how soothing and beautiful the coconut is blended with the tuberose and like the heliotrope. And, you know, heliotrope and almond give fragrances such a sort of like creamy, mouth-watering quality because they're so kind of balmy and waxy. And yeah, I think Dature Noire is like a stunning sort of a stunning example of these notes and how they work in perfumery. And I think that a lot of people would find this fragrance really beautiful, even those who aren't like necessarily tuberose lovers, because it has a lot more in it than just tuberose. And I know that note can be kind of challenging for some people. But yeah, so that is Serge Lutens Dature Noire. I've made like kind of a good sized dent in this one as well. This one is like much loved. So yeah. Next I'll do Fleur d'Oranger by the same house. Like, this is the best, or I would say, I feel like this is an incredibly sort of realistic depiction of orange blossom. This smells like pure, like medicinal, real orange blossoms with a little bit of spice. But yeah, so this is a true orange blossom fragrance. So this is orange blossom with spices, and I think jasmine. And it is just everything you want an orange blossom fragrance to be. So I think, yeah, I said already that it's kind of medicinal almost in terms of like how it opens and how it smells, but don't take that the wrong way. This is really beautiful, and I feel like this would be really appealing to most people. I think those who would not find it nice were just those who, I think people would not like this if they were off-put by the spices in this, because there are quite a few sort of spicy notes in this. And I also haven't smelled the old formulation of this. I've only smelled this one. But I mean, a lot of people say that these black Serge Lutens bottles are like a little bit more, they're a little bit weaker than the older ones. So maybe that is good for the purposes of this fragrance, because this is already so strong. So I can't even imagine what the earlier formulation would be like. But yes, this is a real powerhouse. Sometimes I can't smell fragrances on myself, but one of my roommates sprayed this on and he only did like 2 sprays and we were walking and I could smell him for forever. This thing just does not quit. So this is such a true pure orange blossom, a must have, I feel like, for orange blossom lovers. So yeah, that is Sergeton Fleur d'Oranger. So I guess I'll talk about the straight out of the shower scent that I did bring on this trip with me. And that is none other than Van Cleef and Arpels California Reverie. Isn't this is just such a pretty bottle. I love the bottles for this collection. They're so nice. I have a few of these like at home, and I love them all. This is probably my favorite. This one probably gets the most worn because this is one of my sort of straight out of the shower perfumes. So I have a few perfumes that I consider, I have them on a special tray and I put them on whenever I get like straight out of the shower. So they're all very fresh, more like watery, crisp, light white florals generally. And there's some citruses as well, but I'm a floral lover, so that's like what I gravitate towards primarily. So what's going on in here is it's jasmine, but it's also frangipani. And it's very, I would say that it's a very kind of realistic depiction of jasmine and frangipani in a fragrance. And I think, what else is in here? There's definitely neroli. I don't think it's orange blossom. I think it's definitely neroli because there is like a citrusiness to this fragrance that you get, or like a greenness that I think if it were orange blossom, it would make this a lot more sweet, a lot more white floral and less fresh. There's also beeswax in here. So this doesn't have the smell of honey in it, but it definitely has, let me just sniff the cap for a second. Yeah, there's definitely like some sort of element of like dry sugar, I guess, or like hardened, like resinous sugar. And I feel like that comes from the beeswax. That makes it sound like this is a gourmand, and it's totally not. But when I smell honey in fragrances, honey is very animalic smelling to me. And I think the fact that it's listed as like beeswax instead of honey means that it's less that, and it's more just like kind of the slight sweetness of honey, basically, if that makes any sense to you. So this is California Reverie by Van Cleef & Arpels. This one does not last a long time, but it's not intended to. This one probably lasts, I would say, 5 to 6 hours. And I usually spray this on liberally, like right when I get out of the shower. I think it's an absolutely beautiful, light, fresh jasmine fragrance. So yes, I absolutely love this one. So next I will talk about, I'll do this one. I'll do Rouge Malachite by Armani Privé. So this one, I feel like so many people who are into fragrances know this fragrance. Like, this is just a really, really stunning, like, ambery tuberose fragrance. It gets compared to Alien a lot. I'm like an Alien stan. I love Alien. But I honestly didn't really smell any similarities at all between this and Alien for the longest time. And now I kind of do. I'm still like kind of iffy on that, but I do understand the comparisons. But this is a tuberose bomb. So this is like tuberose, like every level of it, top, mid, base. And then it also has like pink pepper and clary sage at the top. So it opens like with a little bit of like a fresh kind of rosy pepperiness. And then I think what else you have in here, there's jasmine, there's benzoin, amber, vanilla, just like, it's so creamy. This one is creamy is like a word I feel like that gets used a lot in describing fragrances, but this one truly is. I'm actually surprised that this doesn't have coconut in it, because that would make sense just because of how kind of creamy and like milky it is, in my opinion. And yeah, so this is like one of my favorite fragrances in my entire like huge collection. I feel kind of, I don't know, I'm like kind of emotionally attached to it. It's like discontinued, and I don't think I'm gonna buy backup bottles, or who knows, but I really treasure this. This is like, it's so beautiful to me. It's like kind of along the lines of a tropical fragrance, but it's not. But just sort of the creamy white florals, like it does give me those vibes as well. And the bottle is like crazy. It's like a red granite countertop or marble countertop or something. And yeah, this is like one of the most beautiful fragrances I feel like that's like ever been made. Maybe that's like an overstatement, but yeah, this really speaks to me on so many levels. This lasts all day on me. It's not loud. It's not like a huge projector, and I don't like huge projectors, but this one like hangs around on my skin for like a really long time, and I recommend it to anyone who likes creamy white florals. So yeah, Armani Privé Rouge Malachite. Okay, what's next? Ooh, okay, I will talk about Cloud now. So this is Cloud by Ariana Grande, often compared to Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Cochon. Cloud serves a special purpose in my collection. I view Cloud as like, Cloud is a utility. I use Cloud for layering. It's basically just a really kind of sweet, woody fragrance. And it has a lot of like synthetic stuff in it, whatever, I don't know whatever's in here, but whatever that is, that makes this like the best thing in the world for layering. So I will put on this plus like literally any one of these, and it will just make them last slightly longer, like project a little more. It won't totally alter the way that they smell that much, but it will just add a little bit of goodness. And yeah, it does that. I think it's like the Ambroxan does that, I've read, but I don't know if there's other sort of synthetic things in here that do that. Those probably do that as well. But yeah, so this is like dynamite for layering with other fragrances, make them sweet, making them sweeter, deeper, richer, project more. Yeah, it's so cool. I love that this I love that this does that, and I love that I have like something like that in my collection that I can just kind of add into anything and really simply just make it better. So yeah, that's why I have Cloud, Ariana Grande Cloud. And I also love wearing this to bed. I know it has lavender in it, so that probably makes it extra soothing. And I've already said that I like wearing coconut fragrances to bed, so coconut plus lavender is pretty fantastic mix in my collection. I love this little bottle. I think this is only 30 mils, but I think it's so cute and tiny, and I took it off that like atrocious like cloud shaped plastic like base because I really don't like that, and it doesn't like, maybe in like the bigger bottles, like does it stick? Can someone let me know? But yeah, I like having it out of that thing. I think it's so cute and tiny. It's like little cartoon character. So that's Ariana Grande Cloud. This is Jasmine Almond by Maison Lancôme. This is like one of the best jasmine fragrances on the market, I would say. This is one of the best jasmines ever. So this is jasmine, vanilla, almond, woods. It's notes like that. There's nothing about it when you like look at the notes in it where you're like, whoa, what does that smell like? But when it comes together, this is like so beautiful. This is so beautifully blended. I do think the name is something of a misnomer because you think jasmine and marzipan. That is going to be so sweet. It's going to be a sugar bomb. It's going to be like a real gourmand fragrance. And it's not, but that is what's good about it. So I think what the almond in this fragrance does is it tempers everything else. So it makes the jasmine more creamy and less indolic. It makes the woods less harsh and less woody. It makes everything just kind of come together. So almonds, I feel like always add creaminess and like milkiness to fragrances, and that is exactly what I think they're doing here. So this is sweet from like the vanilla and the almond, and it's like a true white floral from all the jasmine, but like with the almonds and the woods, and I think there's also musk in here. It's just like perfectly blended, you guys. Like everything about this is just so harmonious and comes together so well. This is like a jasmine lover's dream, a pure, beautiful, fantastic, like referential jasmine fragrance. I feel like this is one of the best jasmines there is. And the almond is really just there to make the jasmine creamier and more delectable. This is one of my favorites. I want to finish this bottle, and when I finish it, I want to go buy the 100 ml bottle because I love this so much. This is so versatile. This would be beautiful in the evenings. This would be beautiful during the daytime going to like work or school. This is just so elegant and classy and fantastic. So yeah, so that is Jasmine Almond by Maison Lancôme. Okay, so, oh no, one more white floral. Okay, how could I forget? We have Twilly d'Hermès by Hermès. Twilly is a really beautiful tuberose fragrance that does not smell really like the tuberose fragrance. This is a very kind of like medicinal, spicy opening. I think like one of the main accords listed for this on Fragrantica is probably warm spicy, and that is because it has a ton of like ginger and maybe pink pepper, I'm not totally sure, in the opening. And when you add that to the tuberose and like the beautiful creamy dry down this has like a fantastic vanilla sandalwood dry down. This is a spicy, like medicinal tuberose fragrance. I find that I use the word medicinal a lot when describing fragrances with spicy openings that aren't like I wouldn't use the word medicinal to describe just a really like a true spicy fragrance, but I feel like when you add spices to like white florals, they always have this kind of medicinal vibe to them, and Twilly totally gives me that. Twilly is super long lasting because it has such a kind of like woody sweet dry down. This is definitely like a non-linear fragrance. This one really evolves on my skin, so it opens with a ton of spice and tuberose, and as it dries down, you really get those beautiful base notes. Yeah, so that is Twilly d'Hermès. It's an absolute staple in my collection. This is kind of a genius fragrance in my opinion. It doesn't smell like anything at all like I feel like most tuberose scents. Okay, so the next three I'm going to talk about are the least sort of summery of these, but these are like kind of my current obsessions right now. So a category of fragrance that I am totally enamored with is the modern ship. I think that Gris Dior is one of the most beautiful, most crowd-pleasing, most pleasant modern ship fragrances on the market. This is like a fantastic modern ship fragrance. It's got a lot of oak moss in it, as well as like rose, patchouli, bergamot. I find that for at least a lot of modern rose ship fragrances like this, you'll find that they have bergamot in the opening, rose in the middle, and like patchouli or oak moss in the base, and that's kind of how the pyramid goes, like 10 out of 10 representations of that construction. So I love this fragrance. I think that the color is so representative of what this is. This is such a like watery, fresh take on a ship. This is like a perfect modern ship. I find that whenever I wear a ship fragrance, I always feel fresh, I always feel sophisticated, I always feel really clean, I feel really elegant. And this one does that. This one is that vibe, just like totally fully realized, fully self-actualized, everything you want it to be. Yeah, beautiful like oak moss rose. It reminds me of rain, like freshly rained upon flowers. It has earthiness, but not too much. It just overall makes you feel clean, elegant, refined. Yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece, an amazing modern ship. I have a huge collection of fragrances that I like to consider modern ship fragrances, and this is one of the best of all of them, and it's definitely one of my most worn. Yeah, so that is Gris Dior by Dior from the Privé line. And then lastly, to finish up, I want to talk about my Narcissos. I've been totally obsessed with the Narciso cubes recently. These are like my favorite. I think these are like, I feel like I've been calling fragrances like genius left and right, but I think these are like the best. These are like the best sort of like musks on the market that also make musk powdery, yet also creamy. I think these are perfect. So Narciso EDP, the original. This one is also an amazing modern ship fragrance. What's in this? So in this you have a lot of musk, but you also have gardenia and cedar, and I believe maybe like a little bit of like rose or jasmine up in there somewhere. But basically this is like a musky, creamy, woody white floral, okay, that becomes powdery in a really like pleasant, soft, fluffy way. So it becomes powdery, but it's also creamy. So I feel like powdery and creamy, I don't know, they're kind of like two sides of the same coin, and it's fragrances like this that like hover or sort of like straddle between the world of creamy and the world of powdery that really that really win the game. So yes, so this is Narciso EDP. This is like absolutely like intoxicating. It just totally like envelops you in this wonderful cloud of like creamy, woody, white floral, gardenia, musky, powdery goodness. This lasts for a really long time. Musk is a super long lasting note on myself. And this is like the perfect kind of everyday fragrance. I feel like anyone could wear this absolutely anywhere, similar to the Clidia. I feel like modern chip fragrances are just like eternally wearable and they never really go out of style as well. So this is like, this is one of the most complimented fragrances in my collection as well. I become anosmic to this actually a little bit sometimes if I don't like put my nose right on my wrist, let's say. But I know that it lasts for a really long time because I've received compliments on this fragrance after having it on for like 8 hours or so. So that's nice. It's a really like soft, clean, elegant, powdery yet creamy. I went on forever about that kind of distinction. Perfume, and I absolutely love it. I really love these Narciso cubes. I want the whole line. And then second or last but not least is Narciso Rouge, which smells a lot like this one, but it has a lot more tonka bean in it, so that makes it a little bit more kind of syrupy, a little bit, much sweeter definitely. And there's also a lot more different floral notes in here. So I believe there's like iris, rose, tuberose, and orange blossom. And what I get the most is the iris and the orange blossom. So this is kind of like this one, but with added tonka bean, iris, orange blossom, and rose. And I think this is beautiful. This is such a nice, like, sweet scent. It's such a nice, sweeter, more feminine, more syrupy version of this. And I actually really enjoy layering them together because they have a really similar base, really similar, like, kind of musky, woody base. And then this has this sort of added element. So I spray this on first and this over top, and they complement each other so well and go together so well. But this also is like a total star in its own, and it's just such a like pretty feminine scent. I think these are both such nice versatile scents that work for almost absolutely anything, and that's primarily why I brought them, because they're not particularly like summer vibes or vacation vibes or anything like that. They're just really great go-to sort of everyday perfumes. So yeah, I love these Narcissos. I get a lot of really good feedback on them generally. Like I said, this is like one of my most complimented perfumes in my entire collection, and this one is also, people seem to like this one a lot as well. And I feel like, I don't know, it's really hard to like dislike these fragrances, these Narcissos in the cube bottle. I love them. I haven't tried any of the ones not in a cube bottle, but I literally want all these. I want all the flakers and like the EDT versions and everything. I love these. So yeah, that is Narciso and Narciso Rouge, both Eau de Parfum. So that concludes my 12 perfumes that I brought with me on vacation. Yeah, definitely leave me a comment like what your go-to sort of vacation scent is, or if you guys have any thoughts on any of these, or if there's anything you think I'd like. I'd love to chat. But yeah, definitely subscribe to my channel for more perfume related content in the future. I hope you all have a lovely day whenever you are watching this, and yeah, bye everyone.